And here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of epiCHATS. Thanks so much for the great feedback on the last one. I wanted to make sure I get an equally special interview for this new episode, and I think I did it because the person we're talking to today is has been at least up to now for the Dota scene at least an underdog kind of player for many, but he's been respected in the pro scene for a very long time. Originally from Han, one of the highest, if not the highest earning Han player. He made a video for his fans talking about his reasons for leaving Han, and he mentioned among others that he wanted an adventure and to travel and to do exciting things. And on that note, he has just returned from the Summit 7 in California, an event many hardcore Dota fans would give an arm and a leg to attend. So I think he has accomplished that mission. He is KheZu from Team Secret, and he was gracious enough to accept. KheZu, what's up, man? Thanks so much.
Hey man, what's up? Doing really good right now. Just
Yeah,
got back yesterday
yesterday you jet lagged. How you
from
feeling?
now I'm feeling pretty okay. I slept a lot last night and I was lucky enough to get some sleep on the plane, so I'm doing alright.
All right. I think uh, with this whole you originally being from Han thing, I wanted to make sure I mention one more thing that I think is important, and that is the fact that you are pretty much like one of the last people to switch over from Han, and I feel like you're because I did get the wind of it that people like to get attacked a bit for abandoning the game and such, and uh, I think you left at a point where no one, can fault you for it because Han was on like a very very steep downturn, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that statement. Of course there were still a few who were very upset,
Hmm.
but the majority were okay, or at least like the ones that understood that this is like a career choice for me, like
Hmm.
it just makes sense. So most of the people just respected my decision in that sense.
Yeah, and we'll switch from Han here in a second. I won't talk about it again, but I think that was exactly the point where I thought, all right, anyone that really wants KheZu to do well can totally understand that switch. Anyone that's getting pissed off at this point, you can just chuck him away. It doesn't really matter, I
Yeah,
felt.
that's pretty much what I thought too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So and man, we're on the Dota scene. Very happy to have you. You've provided some sick entertainment. My God, the Summit 7 is over, boys. I'm sure everyone listening saw that and enjoyed the shit out of it. And we'll get to that in a sec. But let's begin with maybe your first kind of journey in the Dota 2 scene. At least from my research, let's talk about Escape and your time on there. How can you maybe, if you think back, how did your whole start and joining of that team happen with Synderen?
It pretty much happened like this. I was back then I was still streaming quite a bit, like nearly every day. So I
Mm-hmm.
would just stream like my practice and my pubs and whatnot. And I knew Era back from the Han days. And just eventually at some point I had a message on my Facebook from Era asking if I'd be down to have a talk. So I joined TeamSpeak with him and Cinderin, and they basically briefed me through the thought that to them it looked like I had a good mindset and a good attitude, and I seemed like one of the more improving players. And that's pretty much how it came to it. They just asked me if I was willing to try out for them, and I pretty much said yes right away.
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about this chapter and won't spend too much time on it, but because the only thing I want to kind of establish going into your time on Secret and so on is that from what I heard is that you're like a very knowledge-seeking type of person, and it appears that you just put a lot of value on just improving, and that was a theme that you carried with you during your entire time in Dota 2, beginning with Escape at least, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So, and then you got picked up by Team Secret a while later, and Nahaz even mentioned there's this tweet where he said, his only surprise is that you weren't picked up by some big organization beforehand. And I figured, okay, how to start this conversation best, and I thought there was an interview while I believe at least you were still on Escape, but you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it was at some ESL event where you mentioned that for your offlane role, you guys are still trying to figure out what kind of your best role is and what it exactly is that you need to deliver to your team. Do you remember that?
Sort of, yeah. I like somewhere in the I have it in my head.
And what was so this search of what is your place as an offlaner in a team? Like what are those things that that you needed to deliver for the team, like in order to achieve kind of victory? Did that picture of what the offlaner needs to do change over time? And where's your understanding of that right now as opposed to where it was maybe when you started?
My understanding about it definitely improved,
Hmm.
and I think it's different from team to team. The main point that I was talking about, at least back then, was I wasn't sure like what type of player am I really? Like, should I be one that demands to be a farming offlaner, or should
Hmm.
I be the more sacrificial type of offlane player? And right now, I don't even know if I prefer one or the other. I just know there's a specific type of heroes that I really enjoy playing, and none of them are the same style, really. So right now, it's pretty much I just enjoy like a few heroes. Like some of them are like very aggressive, some are more passive, like
Hmm.
an Enigma, for example. So I don't know what other offliners think about it, but I just know that at this moment, it's not so much up to what I think the offliner should do. Right now, it's really much just up to what I really enjoy playing and what I believe in.
Hmm. And do you have maybe do you have a kind of a list of maybe let's do you have if I ask you for like your top three favorite offlane heroes to play currently in this patch, would you be able to tell me?
Um, I could say three of my favorite heroes. Yeah,
Yeah, please.
it would go from anywhere from Enigma, Void, and then the third one would probably be like Earthshaker or Sand King.
Hmm. So Earthshaker, Sand King, are those the ones that go similar in terms of how to play them throughout the game?
They sort of fit the criteria that they don't need that much farm necessarily,
Hmm.
but Sand King, they are similar in a lot of aspects, but the biggest difference is actually that I think with Sand King you can be a lot more aggressive, whereas with Earthshaker you need to have a more passive and laid back mindset most of the time at least.
Hmm. Yeah, kind of when we watched some games of the summit, there was actually a point where we talked about Sand King and Earthshaker, and it seemed when you go with an Earthshaker, it needs to be the correct time, and you need to have that team fight impact right then and there. Whereas with the Sand King, you have some flexibility. It seems like he's able to survive a bit longer, move around a bit more. How would you describe then the play style? Let's talk about Enigma, for example. Like what is the things that you would say about what you want to watch out for, make sure you do or don't do with an Enigma on the off lane?
I think with as is this with most heroes on the offlane, you really just need to you need to know your limits and you need to know when to be where. For example, sometimes when you play offlane, you can't really be in the lane, so perhaps you should be helping your mid lane or camping runes or whatever.
Hmm.
I think with Enigma, it's really important that you get as much as you can for your own sake and keep trying to deny as much from the other team as possible.
Hmm.
And you need to know your item build because I think it's one of the most important things on the hero. Because I know that right now many people they just autopilot like the same build. They go Midas into Blink into BKB when in reality there's a lot of other builds you can go on that hero. Just because they don't have a cancel for your black hole doesn't mean you need to farm half an hour and then become useful.
Hmm.
You could be more useful with the same amount of gold if you just go different items.
So there's a big spectrum of possible items, and depending on the situation, there's always like some best answer, not always.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a few heroes that I think are very complex and not everyone knows like what to build on them. For
Hmm.
example, two examples I have in my head are Nature's Prophet and Broodmother, which I think have endless item builds, and you would need to play so many freaking games to figure it out.
Hmm.
But when people play those two heroes, I think you will only see two or three different item builds at most. When I think there could be like 10 or 15,
Hmm.
just to put a picture out there how important it actually is.
And is there, over the course of maybe the past few events, talking about Enigma, has your understanding of maybe what items to go for been pretty set in stone, and you just apply this type of roadmap that you have? Or is there maybe like an where you can tell me, well, maybe, I don't know. item X has actually now proven itself to me to be part of that roadmap. Is there any item that stood out for you, like in the last event?
Something I really liked before they removed the respawn talents
Hmm.
was Bloodstone on
Hmm.
Enigma, but they took away the respawn talent. So pretty much my idea about it was that at some point you'll most likely either they will focus you right away or they will ignore you. And in the games where I'm just like really tanky, and most likely they will just ignore me and try to dodge my hole and try to kill my cores. What I'll try to do is that once I have the respawn talent, I want to time it with my Bloodstone. And if they go on my cores, I just suicide, and I'll
Ah,
instantly be back alive. And hopefully the fight lasts that long that I come back with a black hole, or maybe the heal was good enough for my cores.
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
But
And
sadly
now
they
that it's
removed that, so
okay. So no more Bloodstone in general, or is it still situational?
I have yet to try it after, because I don't know. My brain, it doesn't feel like it's that good now.
Uh-huh. And is there, on the same note, like some offlaner or offlaners or heroes where when Puppy asks you, hey, you want to play, I don't know, Tide or Clock, you're like, fuck, please no, Poppy-chan. Is there, any ones that you don't like?
There's very few where I would say that, and I'm trying to look at the pool right now because
Uh,
I try to be really open, even if I don't have the most games on them. Like I wanna sound confident and make my team like feel good about the pick.
mm-hmm,
Um, I'm looking at the pool right now, and honestly, I can't really see a hero right now that I would despise playing, or rather deny playing it.
mm-hmm,
For example, at this event, I haven't played Sand King so much lately, or Night Stalker, but we just feel good about it. And especially when Puppy feels good about a hero, it will make me feel good about it.
mm-hmm,
So even if I'm not super confident, it will like I will just feel good playing the hero. So most things will come naturally.
mm-hmm. Super interesting. Sorry again, guys, I had some update pop up, so that sound was not on your computer, that was on mine. Apologies. Um, is it fair to say that you have kind of unconditional trust in your captain?
I would definitely say so. Yeah.
Mhm. And because this is interesting, like it's been mentioned several times how important it is to like work kind of cohesively. Is this something that all the teammates besides Puppy share, that everyone is like very behind him, or would you is there like is Puppy the only guy that's making short calls? How is that relationship in the team? How does that work?
No, everyone is definitely free to say what you think. Like if you are certain that you don't like something that we might be planning for, we need to speak up and say it because it's very important.
Hmm.
Um, Even though like let's say Puppy is 100% certain we should be doing this, then unless the majority say no, it will be done.
Hmm.
But everyone can make calls and everyone can say stuff in the draft. It's not like it's a dictatorship or
Hmm.
something. I would say Puppy is very open with that and also very easy to criticize in that sense.
Hmm. Okay. And Um, another thing talking about your team that I thought interesting to touch upon was your relationship with Yapsor. Couldn't find so much about it because I did hear that you spoke very fondly of him, especially during the time where you guys weren't playing together for that short stint, and then he joined you guys on Secret. Okay, how did you meet the guy? What's your relationship like with him? Because I didn't find him a lot.
The first time I met him was when I think back when I was actually I don't know if I was in a team or if I played with my very first team called Cookies. We were like 5, 6 KMR players, nothing special.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it was PyCat who asked me to try out for his team, or maybe it was Yapsor. I don't fully remember how I met him. I just know I got in touch with one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they did ask me in the end to try out for their team. And I played like a couple scrims, but it didn't really feel right, so I declined that. But from that point onwards, I was talking with Yap a little bit here and there, and then they asked me to join Escape, and that's when I really first got to know Yapso like as a person. And it was fairly obvious from like the first time we talked online or saw each other in real life that we are gonna have a really good relation like with one another
Mm-hmm.
because we're both very clowny while we can all like we can be serious, but if we feel comfortable and we feel like there's room, to have fun, then we will definitely do that.
Okay. And how would you describe? I think many of us got a nice insight into the levels of clowniness of Team Secret during your cast. I really enjoyed that. Um, People around me, I would start saying "what" like a lot of times, and people would think I'm being really cringy, and I just had to because I just took it from you guys. It was very funny. How does that contrast with the App Store in game? How is he in game?
Um, it used to be very easy to make him be that clowny in game also,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember that I left Escape first when Secret asked me, and then he left a while after for Bears,
Mm-hmm.
and he's slightly different now in game. Like I would say, more serious and more focused. So he left some of that clowniness behind, if you want to put it that way. He's still the same outside of the game, but I would say we both matured in that sense to make sure we keep our focus level high enough, at least when there's game time or scrims.
All right, let's move into talking more specifically about the Summit 7 then, and kind of intertwine it with one topic that I think is being discussed a bit, and that one being the question of what is the best kind of team constellation. And right now, it appears that when I speak to people, they seem to say, the combination of kind of fresh blood and, like crafty old veterans, some mix of these attributes is the best. And it seems that, you mentioned that the App Store has changed a bit in game, or maybe we could say improved in that sense, perhaps even. um, you were mentioned a lot of the times during the Summit 7 as, a player that people were thoroughly impressed with, be it just the plays, the quality of style and play in general, or the amount of improvement that people think they saw in your play over
hmm
time. Is this something, in regards to the question of kind of the best team composition, what are your thoughts on it, and where does Secret rank in that?
I think I have to think like how I should answer this question. I would say that it's definitely good to have some like fresh blood, some younger players
Mm,
with a mixture of a veteran, people who have either captained or played or have experience, like one of those things or all three. Just an experienced player to back up your decisions and maybe just help you overall. Like you have this one voice that you can like trust when
mm-hmm,
you're maybe uncertain or people have a discussion, because usually they will know a lot of good things. And then it's the same with the younger people, the newer players. They have compared to the older players, I think you might have a higher variety of ideas, um, because there's like the mindset of younger and older players. I think they're just a bit different in that sense.
mm-hmm,
That's why I think a lot of new strategies will probably be created by younger players or new players, or maybe some coaches. Like I've heard a lot of that stuff too. There's a lot of coaches in the game that think a lot about the game.
mm-hmm.
Um, Apart from that, I think you could also have a really good team. Like you could get lucky. For example, you could get five people that are first of all they're really good at Dota, but they all specialize in one thing that can all help you to win the game. Like maybe one guy is really good at movement and one guy is really good at smokes.
Mm-hmm.
Then your captain is really good at drafting, and then your other two players are really good at their role and they know how to communicate with their team and keep the morale up. If you'd find a team like that, I don't think you would need an experienced player.
Mm-hmm.
You might just get really lucky and get all those elements together, and I think that would work too.
Do you think that uh, in terms of like what do you think, what goes through your mind when you hear people say things like, "Oh my God, I'm so impressed with KheZu's improvement over the past couple of events," or something like that? Did you get wind of that, and what are your thoughts on this?
Um, I heard that that happened like once or twice
Hmm.
during the last days, and I guess it makes me happy. I guess like
Hmm.
it's nice to hear. Um, it's because when I play, I would say I'm pretty self-critical. Like when I make mistakes, I know when I make mistakes and I'm kind of truthful to it. Sometimes I can be too hard on myself, but I try to balance that. And so hearing that people think I improved, yeah, I guess it just makes me appreciate the time I invest in the game even more than I already do in that sense.
And how do you have some sort of perspective on w- do you kind of subjectively also see that you change a lot compared to maybe your time on your previous team?
Yeah, I would say I'm a lot happier now with my own gameplay than have than I ever have in Dota at this point in time.
Hmm.
Like I feel better when I play myself. Like I feel more calm, I feel more relaxed, and I feel like in a lot of the games nowadays, I'm doing most of the things I should be doing. Whereas before, I'm like after the games, I'm like, holy shit! Like I'm just looking down at myself. I'm like, I know I need to be doing more, and I look at other players and I'm like, holy shit! Like why can't I be like this guy? And now, like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good. Even though there's still a lot of games where I'm like, yeah, I know I can do more, but I can feel myself that it's like it's slowly getting better. So that makes me feel good.
And what is there any factors that had an kind especially strong impact on this improvement? Was it the leadership of an experienced captain? Was it the atmosphere of the team? What are like some things that really helped you reach that? Lots of putts.
Um, I think the biggest factors in helping me improve the way I have is gameplay, like the time I have with my team, the good games I'm playing, the scrims and tournaments. They obviously help steadily. Apart from that, having a captain and knowledgeable players around you that help you to improve. And the third biggest factor is I wrote a blog a couple months ago where I mentioned a thing about confidence
Hmm.
and a player I talked to, Fly, who I'm fairly good friends with. And after a Star Ladder event in China a couple months ago, I was talking to him because he used to play for Secret at some point back in time, and he was an offlaner also. And I asked him, so like, how is it to play with like people you've looked up to for so long? And sometimes maybe you know that your idea could be good, or maybe it's better than theirs, but you're like too afraid to say it, or you're
Hmm.
just like so stunned by how known they are or how good they should be that they would never be wrong. But no one's ever perfect in Dota. Like you need to understand that there's so many different ideas. And I had a very long talk with him that really, really helped me understand and just feel better in general. And I think ever since then, I just like I feel more comfortable playing.
So was it, from what I understand, what came up is the concept that this looking up to people, you gotta understand that there's no like this honor that you're giving to them, that you shouldn't give it to them, and that's like as soon as it impedes on making the best decision, you should just say fuck it, be confident, and say what you think is the best thing. Like what were some takeaways from the conversation, maybe some specific things that came up, and maybe things that Fly said that made this realization happen?
Um, I think you should find just make sure it doesn't like conflict with your emotions, the way you respect people. Like don't let it judge your decision making too much.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, like try to keep it a good balance. Because obviously you want to respect people, especially the people you play with. Otherwise, your team will go to shit like real fast. So just having a good balance will help a lot. And then, last but not least, something he told me is that you should always feel good about the moves you're doing. So if you, in particular, feel bad about an idea or something, voice your opinion. If the rest still feel like it, well, then go with it. But if not, then maybe just make a different call. Maybe you'll feel good about it. Because usually your instincts in Dota are right. Like your gut feeling, most of the time is the best thing to do.
This is so interesting, and I do need to take the viewers on a quick tangent here. I'll try to keep it short, but this is such an interesting point that Kezu just made, because um, there's uh, now I hope this makes sense in the end. But there was a while ago there was this big Go tournament where a computer was playing, and in Go the best players, it was such a hard game even for computers because the possibilities were endless essentially, and you could not brute force calculate the best option. And the best pro Go players, the very best, would tell you they made a certain move because it just felt right. And people start discussing about how the human mind intakes all this information, it kind of subconsciously processes it, and then you have a feeling if it's good or bad, but you don't really rationally know why it's good or bad, but you just feel
Yeah,
it. This is this is it, right? What I'm talking. This is the concept.
that's exactly the same. Yeah.
Damn, that's nice. And OG is super successful. You guys have been super successful. Is this? But I would imagine maybe it's difficult to apply this concept in scrims, or is it just something where you just everyone keeps an eye on it and says, "Hey guys, not feeling well about this. Let's move out." Or
Um, Players are different. Like some people will speak up about it. For example, I myself a few months ago, I wouldn't always do it. Now
mm,
I try to. Someone that's really good at this is, for example, Yapstore and Puppy. If they don't like it, they will speak up, and then we'll either come to an agreement or we will not do the move. So I think in general, like if you don't like something, you just need to speak up about it, even if it's in scrims. Unless you're really trying something specific, then just like go with some special strategy, then you
yeah,
just have to execute it perhaps.
yeah, because you
But
want to try learn it maybe and stuff, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice, nice. Okay. Um, So during the Summit 7, Team Virtus Pro was maybe a team that was really high on like pretty much any metric of measurement you can take. People seem very impressed with Virtus Pro. So I would want to talk about them for a bit as well, because if someone can say something about them substantially, then it's you, because you played them obviously in the grand finals. But before we talk about Virtus Pro, would you agree with this? People saying, "Wow, Virtus Pro is such a strong team." Aside you guys, of course, or was there another team that you think we should mention at this point?
Okay, so obviously VP was the best team at the tournament.
Mhm.
A couple teams that one team especially that struck me as very strong was DC.
Mhm.
We played them in the first round, and I think we could have very well lost to them. In their second game,
Yeah, it was
they
2-1. I'm just looking at it right now. Okay,
exactly,
interesting.
and I believe they also played VP, who they played 2-1 against, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, which I believe they could have also won that series if they played slightly better as a team or had better decision making,
Uh-huh.
no matter what it was. I just think they have something going for them. I can't properly explain what it is, but looking at them play and playing against them, I know that at least in some games they feel very, very strong.
Okay, interesting. Well, then here's to Digital Chaos, guys. Maybe write those guys down and check out how they played, because this is exactly right. They got 2-1 by Team Secret round one, and then they dropped down and lost against the team again. They lost 2-1 against the teams that won the grand finals. So respect, sick. Yeah, I didn't catch that. Interesting.
Yeah, no, they definitely have something going. Like they're definitely doing something right.
hmm And so let's say apart from maybe DC, your move through the bracket was convincing. You 2-0'd your way to the grand finals apart from DC then. First Navi, then LGD, and then Virtus Pro. The one thing I wanted to ask before going kind of into the grand final itself, what was the contrast like? If you like take the beginning of the grand final is like the line, and before that, compared to after it, was there something Virtus Pro did that where you thought, oh shit, I didn't see an enemy team doing this or that up to now?
I mean, definitely the thing that struck people right away is that they picked their unique heroes every game. Like they
hmm
refused to pick the same hero more than one time until the very last game in the grand finals,
hmm
which was already very special in itself. I'm not sure if any team ever has ever done that in a Dota 2 tournament. I
Yeah,
would say no.
yeah. I would think so too, although I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Um, so like we had like a list of heroes that they hadn't played before the grand finals
hmm
that we kind of wrote down. Sadly, at one point it turned out that we forgot to write down one or two heroes.
Okay.
One being Dazzle, who they picked in it was the second or the third game, and then somehow we didn't think about it. Like it happens. There's a lot of Like some weird moments going on. People are thinking about stuff, and then maybe
Yeah, third
we
hero
don't think
Dazzle, yeah.
about the right thing exactly. And then they last pick a Huskar,
Huskar, yeah.
and we were like, oh, well, that sucks. Which we could have obviously still won the game, but it's just a lot of things were going on, and we got kind of caught off guard by it. Which is kind of funny, because you would think a team that can only choose a variety of 30 heroes compared to 110 that you wouldn't be caught off guard. But sadly, it happened to us.
Uh, that's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I see it here. Game three, I think pick three. If this is kind of chronological, they picked the Dazzle,
That's correct. And the last one was the Huskar.
and then you were up. You were down 2-1 after that game, and then you won the fourth game. Do you remember game four? How that one went?
All I know is that we had TA and Bristol back, and they had some really strange picks. They had like a support brewmaster.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we had the momentum in that game, like all game long. We were ahead from laning, and we pretty much went with that lead and were able to close the game.
hmm And then game five, was that the hardest one out of them all in your mind?
Um, Game five, I
So
play.
was
What's that
Sand
game?
King, Crystal Maiden, Nyx, Dusa, Razor on you guys' side versus Darkseer, Sven, Warlock, Death Prophet, Anti-Mage.
Oh yeah, yeah. That game was pretty rough. They had a very good last pick with Anti-Mage.
Yeah.
We were fairly convinced like nearly the whole time that their Sven would be their carry. We did kind of let ourselves in, like we kind of got ourselves into that position in the first place by drafting how we did, which we afterwards realized was most likely quite a huge mistake. But they had a really good last pick, and then I didn't perform so well that game, and then suddenly the game got really hard.
Oh, I
And
remember. This was you were Nyx and you were sniping couriers left and right. Wasn't that the one?
that's pretty much
Oh
yeah,
my
I thought that was
goodness.
the best thing for me to do.
Yeah, people agreed. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you're thinking, oh man, I don't have the farm that I want to be having at this point. And then you just kept a lookout for the courier on the minimap, or how did that go?
So I was pretty much like a good thing I like to do is to evaluate what could I be doing right now that will give us the most advantage.
Yeah.
And I was fairly certain that pickoffs were not gonna be a thing. I have no partner who will kill with me. Me and Sand King can find heroes, but our cores are a Medusa Razor.
Hmm.
Um, while the enemy hero is stunned, they're gonna laugh at us while our cores run at them, and
Hmm.
then the anti-mage will just blink away. And then team fights were kind of hard as well. So I thought if I just stay off the map in my Vendetta and snipe some couriers here and there, I might apply some pressure and I'll get my team some gold and give myself some experience. So I had the evaluation that that was the best thing for me to do.
Yeah, and I think at least three couriers he got, probably more. And I think Puppy was every kill he was super happy because he wasn't having the time of his life on this maiden.
Yeah.
Must be interesting. And in the last game, is there what was the most annoying single thing if you had to pick one that made the game difficult?
In the last game,
Yeah.
the single most annoying thing that made the lane difficult, I think it may have been my lane with Yapsor. We kind of screwed up the laning phase fairly hard. Or maybe laning in general. Because I think we should be matching up our Medusa against their anti-mage, which is kind of hard, but I think the laning phase just made this game really difficult.
And in the so and the upheaval from Warlock, like talking about the game itself, how was that for you guys?
Um, I think Warlock. There's a few heroes that have spells where every single spell is very crucial and very strong. Um, I think Warlock is one of those heroes.
Hmm.
Like every single spell of his can be like a game changer in that sense. Maybe not the heal later on, but it's a very good spell for that hero to have.
Mm.
Like his Q spell can ruin a team fight, his slow can ruin a team fight, and so can Golem.
Oh, okay.
So I think the hero has like a lot of. He's just very strong if he's used properly.
Okay. So it's not like the upheaval is the single most shitty thing, it's just Warlock as a hero has, three out of four at least. super strong spells that you have to be aware of.
Yeah, like Warlock has a lot of potential, and if you don't have the right heroes or the right mindset or the right plan, then Warlock will be a problem.
Mhm. And could you talk a bit about like just the how did you perceive Virtus Pro in game from their move? Like, were they brave? You know, were they cocky almost? You know, because people kept saying they're so confident and stuff. Did that reflect in the game? And if so, how exactly?
I think you can definitely tell that they're confident, not just because of their picks, but from yeah, like from the way they move around the map. Like you can tell that they believe in what they're doing and they just feel good. You perhaps also get the vibe that you feel like they're probably better than you are.
Hmm.
Because at some points, yeah, they were cocky. Probably not overly cocky. They probably just played the way as an okay, I can go this far, and if they want to use 5 heroes, then I'm okay with this dev, something like that.
Hmm.
Because they did play fairly far up, but I just think it was kind of hard to play them at some point because you didn't really know what's coming. Because you could feel that their picks are kind of random since they pick so much different stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt it also reflected in their movement. They played really good, but I believe that they made some moves that they normally wouldn't be doing if they only played with their normal lineups.
Hmm. Now, another thing that Solo mentioned after winning the thing was that the lessons and so on that they will learn are going to come as they evaluate the replays. And it was interesting because it told me that doing this interesting strat that VP did with picking all these different heroes provides like some afterwards kind of value for them because
hmm
they can have a look at this kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on this type of thing? And you know, did you learn, you know, anything in particular from this matchup? Should teams be a bit more Virtus Pro-y, you know, in their picks?
Um, I'm not sure if people should straight up copy it, but I think it can be a really nice idea, at least for a while or a few matches, depending how the team feels about it. I definitely think you can learn a lot from it. Like you can throw your heroes on players and make them understand. You don't need to play one of the heroes that you have 1,000 games on to win a game.
Hmm.
Like maybe play a hero that you've played 10 times and you'll see that you can perform well. Or in general, showing your team that you can pick whatever and win games against really good teams.
Hmm.
Like it's a really good confidence boost for I'm pretty sure all of them. So I think just in general, I heard it was Solo's idea
Hmm.
because they believed that they had a security invite, which they were right about.
Hmm.
So they wanted to try this, and I really liked the idea. I think it was very cool.
Hmm. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, I agree, and I think people they didn't gamble away anything. They just had positives. They got those positive effects that you just mentioned, and they have something to analyze later on. Was there a specific hero that impressed you guys in the maybe in your best of five or in previous games from Virtus Pro? Did Virtus Pro put a hero on your guys' map?
I have to quickly look through. There's one hero that I was looking out for. We haven't picked it yet, and they
Hmm.
played it, so that's all I'm gonna say.
Ah, shit.
So I
Okay,
was
interesting.
because I'm kind of experimenting with something.
Ah,
Apart from that, yeah, I think one hero, Viper. They played Viper in their Huskar game,
yeah.
and not gonna lie, that hero felt very strong. I understand that the strategy kind of revolved around the Huskar and the Viper, and most of their picks complemented the Viper and helped him in the early game. But he still felt a lot stronger than this meme hero, because Viper is kind of like you wouldn't really say it's a hero. Like you just tell your mid player, "Yo, you want to play Viper?" As like a joke, because it's like the most boring hero ever.
Hmm. Yep.
But they showed it has some crazy potential.
How so is it from my perspective and it's she super tanky, able to create space and kind of push heroes back and put the team into decision if they want to take kind of an unfavorable fight or not. This is just very amateurishly kind of explained. Can you talk a bit about how this Viper functioned in the game?
So first off, Viper, for the majority of matchups in the lane, Viper will win it very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It's just a very strong laner. His Q spell lets him orb walk, aka not get creep aggro. And then every time you like hit him or deal damage to him, you'll take damage yourself, and he has magic resistance. I think it's just a very momentum-based hero. Like as you could see with their lineup, they were playing with a heal and pretty much just a run at you lineup.
Mm.
And I think that's how Viper wants to be played. You don't want to play a game with that hero where you have to catch your opponents because they have an anti-mage. You want to be able to force fights and just be a tanky shit in the front and just make it really hard for the opponent to like run through you in that sense. And it was impossible for us to like really do anything because at some point we had to fight them. But that's exactly what like a Viper, Husker, Dazzle lineup wants your enemy to do. They want you to fight them.
Mm.
So it just got really, really hard for us, especially with its itemization. It was I just really liked how no one played the hero and how they played around it. I was definitely the most impressed with that.
Cool. What do you remember from No One's items? I don't see him.
I'm fairly certain he went mech into Dragonlance, and then he went Heaven's Halberd, and I
Mm.
think that's the most crucial that you have to know.
Hmm. And when the going got tough against Virtus Pro, maybe they were pressuring your high ground, and you knew you were going to have to fight. Um, because I see like this, Void, Lina, Crystal Maiden, Rubik, Drow lineup here. What was the thought when you were defending high ground? Is it hard to save for you now because it's depends on the situation, or were you sure to say, hey, Void, in a perfect scenario, you chrono, like definitely not the Viper, try to catch like one support, and we'll use Lina ulti for that? Like, what was your strat to try and win this high ground attempt from Virtus Pro?
If I remember correctly, we were looking to see how they were gonna approach the high ground. Maybe they were gonna have some mispositioning going on in their team,
Yeah.
which sadly they didn't. Which means that I don't know how it went. I believe Husker had Aegis, and then Viper was tanky enough that Husker just threw his heal on him. So actually, neither of them were killable for us.
Hmm.
Which means the only heroes we could go on was pretty much the other three: the Batrider, the Earthspirit, and the Dazzle. So if I remember correctly, I told my course to just like I told them to poke at one of the heroes, like commit but be ready to run away. So as soon as their team comes in to do something about it, that's when I would go in, which is probably the best case scenario we have got going for ourselves. But even that was not good enough.
Hmm. Oh, but very interesting insight for sure into that situation. Yeah, and then Virtus Pro was able to win the whole thing in Game 5. What were the emotions like during Game 5, realizing that you're not going to make it, and in the end, how were you guys feeling? How were you feeling?
I think throughout the game you could feel that, like everyone could feel that it's getting harder. Even though at some point we felt, I'm pretty sure we all felt like we could win if we play very well and they make some small mistakes, and we still can win. Because I would say at the time, at around of the time where they won against us, their lineup was at one of their strongest points. So if we were able to hold on a bit longer, maybe we could make it. But after the game, obviously we were a bit sad, and we weren't sure anymore about the TI invite,
Mm,
because we thought there's a small chance that we would get invited had we won the match.
mm-hmm,
Um, but we ended up being pretty happy. I was pretty happy, at least a while after the loss was over. We got second place, and I thought for the majority of the game we played pretty good, or at least throughout the tournament. I mean, we played pretty good together, and it's fairly obvious that we've been making a lot of improvements over the past couple of months.
mm.
And then once the invites came out, we pretty much told ourselves that we weren't gonna be invited anyhow to just feel better. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Summit 7, interesting event. Again, diehard Dota people would love to be there, I'm sure, and the pros seem to enjoy it a lot as well. How did Can you talk to me about how you experienced the event in itself?
I think it was one of the most enjoyable LAN events I've been to myself. I think they take very good care of the players. It's a awesome environment to be in and play in. You're pretty much in a house with a bunch of computers, and when you're not playing, you can practice. And when you want to eat, you can just go downstairs and have lunch. And it's so easy to talk to people because you're all in the same house and not everyone is playing all the time. And there's an area outside with like a huge garden and a pool, and like you can play games or just hang out. So compared to other events, it's just a lot more casual, at least in terms of atmosphere,
Mm.
and it's way easier to reach people and just have contact with people. Instead, when you're at tournaments, you will mainly be like in your practice room, unless you're going for dinner, and then you'll be back to your practice room. So it's very hard to like interact with teams unless you're like really good friends with them and you like just want to hang out. But
Hmm.
at an event like this, you just bump into each other all the time, and it's very friendly in that sense.
Was there someone that you met newly or met again that you were very happy about seeing them again, or someone that you were very happy about meeting at the event?
Um, I've seen the people from Virtus Pro before, I believe, like once or twice, but now getting to talk to them, I was very positively impressed.
Hmm.
I enjoy talking to all of them, and they're really funny and really enjoyable to be around. I think that's why I enjoyed that the most. And in terms of teams or like people that I've seen again, I enjoy DC and NP. Like I enjoy seeing my Pylai and my father. And actually, one guy I forgot to mention is Foreb. I just talked to him online, and that was the first time I met him because
Ah.
I've heard a lot about him. So that was pretty nice.
Now, one thing that I'm just thinking of, since we mentioned the atmosphere and such, uh, PPD, do you know him from back in Holland? Probably, right?
I do indeed. He was my rival for quite a while, and
Ah,
he hated my captain quite a bit.
that was the whole PPD swindle thing, or
That's
what?
correct. That thing
Ah,
lasted forever. So
interesting, interesting. Could you talk about that? Like, just because no one, none, well, I have no idea, but I just know that there was like some rivalry. Was it like a healthy rivalry? Was it like sometimes toxic and insulting?
no, unhealthy as hell.
Okay.
There was nothing healthy about it. Unless maybe it was probably healthy for like the people outside of the drama, like they enjoyed it, and
They
people
would have
thought that
content or what?
yeah, like people thought the matchups are gonna be like more hype in that sense. But apart from that, there was nothing healthy about it. They pretty much just hated each other for who they are or who they were. And
How would
by
swindles
now,
talk about PPD in like when you were just chilling in the practice rooms or whatever?
you mean like back then, how they talk to each other?
Yeah, like, or how would swindles back then like talk to you and his teammates about PPD?
Pretty much that he's a bad person and he does nothing good and stuff. That the list goes on. It's
Okay.
pretty much like that. They both just hated each other, and it was that for a while. But many things in Han were kind of immature, and people were younger at that point.
Yeah, for
Like now,
sure.
four
Yeah.
years or 5 years have passed. I'm sure the situation's a bit different right now,
Yeah, I think people
but
can
yeah,
understand, right? It's like everyone's young, emotions ride high, and the internet
yeah,
is
exactly.
everything and so on. How like were you in PPD? Because obviously then you are by default on one side of the conflict. But how did you get a chance to talk friendly with PPD, and how did that go?
I was probably one of the few people who liked PPD back in Han.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
there were a lot of people who did not like him, but I always thought he was a good player, and I always thought he was nice. He was never an asshole to me, and I've never experienced him do something so bad that would make me hate him.
Yeah.
So I very much enjoy talking to him, and I also liked watching him play. And I only played with him once because I was like a stand-in for his team at some point. So I don't know him that well on a personal level or on
Mhm.
a captain level. I don't know that at all. But I just know that I respected him back then, and I do the same now.
Okay. But then of course if you see him you would be able to just say hi. It's not like it would be awkward or something.
Oh no, no, it's totally fine.
Okay. Now, one big thing about the Summit 7 was like those very memey videos that the community very much enjoyed. I enjoyed them a lot. Um, how did that whole thing go down? Just talk to us a bit. Like, how did they sell you the idea? How did you react to it? What was the filming like?
It's pretty easy. So pretty much like we get there and it's media day. So they tell us, so we have these ideas and this is what we want to do and what do you think about it? Actually, sometimes they don't even ask what you think about it. Like we just do it because I would say we kind of trust them and what they do. Like it's gonna be funny, it's gonna be nice, and it's media day. You know, like we have some things that we should do.
Yeah,
Like so they have some content or whatever.
gotcha.
So the first thing they did, I think, was that remember when I kicked you video, the one with like puppy and all those,
Hmm.
and they
That was the
didn't really
first one that they shot?
not the first one in general, but the first one for us because we arrived
Ah,
pretty late that day.
okay.
So and they didn't really tell them like what's up. They just told them, okay, so this is your line,
Oh
this is
my
what you should do.
God.
Look at the camera here, and boom. So they just did it, and trust me, being there in person, it was goddamn hilarious.
Okay. My, this is, can you, you obviously understand, that this is like such a, it's interesting because it's obviously such a big source of discussion and so on, but then it's being made light of in such a funny way, and the people involved in, the videos fucking, remember when I kicked you, right? And
Yeah.
they say this right to their face, so it wasn't, it wasn't awkward whatsoever, or what?
I don't think so. Like there were like Boba, he had like the first line because PPD and him are the first ones talking.
Yeah.
They like he was like pretending to act like they told him 5 times, "Yo, Boba, you need to lower the drama level," because he was acting way too much. They literally had to cut it like 5 times and be like, "Yo, Boba, this is just a joke." And he understood it was a joke, but he was like acting like a fucking drama queen. So they just had to shoot it a few times, but it was pretty funny.
Man, yeah, that was an interesting video. Okay, and so the video with you and Yapster, that was you shot that one afterwards?
I believe we did, yeah. It was either later that day or the next day, even though I do believe it was after that first video.
Was there like anything that happened during the filming and that media day that is memorable to you that you found especially interesting or funny or whatever that you could share with us?
I just really liked their ideas, like their photos, like turning us into like boy bands or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
putting wigs on us. I think that was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one, the content they had where we had to like shoot on like or throw stuff at monitors.
Oh yeah.
I just think they chose some very funny topics and they involved some like good people that you would throw stuff at in that sense.
Yeah, that one was also very interesting, the monitor thing. I thought that was hilarious.
Exactly.
You probably saw, were you there when Mason did the whole CCNC thing? Did you
I
see it on
did
video?
not. No.
Ah, that was funny. Okay, well, so interesting. So your kind of first-hand witness account underscores what everybody thinks that the summit is a sick event.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very cool. Um, so we're gonna start slowly wrapping things up here. I have a few more not related to the summit questions. Let's start with something a bit personal because you mentioned that before you really went pro, you had issues, going to school regularly.
That is
So
correct.
for the viewers at home, so Keza would say that he would skip school pretty regularly and he would just want to play computer games and he would get in trouble with his parents a lot, but he wouldn't really, he would just mention it. But for, I'm sure I'm one of these people and there's many people, especially like in, I don't know, I just know the German version of it, but it's interesting to be in that position, to be the guy that skips school regularly. It's an interesting experience. So I was wondering, can you like how would this routine be like? Would you not go to school at all? Would you go to school and then leave after a class?
All right. So I'll try to go into it, but not too much. Most people that I've told this to, it's a pretty funny story. Like
Uh-huh.
my family knows how this stuff went down and so on. So basically, I never really liked school, and I don't want to discourage people out there that they shouldn't go to school or whatever.
Hmm.
But I never liked it. I did like the environment. I didn't like the time I spent there. So basically, at some point, I would still go to school. It's just that sometimes when I thought it was all right or when I really didn't want to, it would be like this. Either depending on if one of my parents could drive me or if I went by bike, either I would go to school or they would drive me there. Um, I would go in the front door and like put up my hoodie or whatever so people wouldn't know it's me. Then I would maybe hide somewhere or straight up go out the door again and start running home. And then at some point, I would also call the school and pretend I'm my brother or my dad, tell them I'm sick, and that's pretty much how it went. Obviously, this didn't go well for very long,
Uh-huh.
and that's where problems arose, and I got into some trouble.
Like
But
school stuff, like some school conferences and stuff?
yeah, like they're like calling my parents, or like at some point they would call my dad in his store and be like, "So, your son's been sick for a while. What's up?" And he's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh
He's in
no.
school, right?"
Oh no.
Yeah, so there were a lot of funny moments out there because I had like two, three different periods of where this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I have very supportive parents, so even when I did all these things, the worst things that really happened to me is that they took away my computer at some point, and but on it, like, obviously it wasn't because they want to like screw with me or anything. They just wanted me to be like, like a
And
normal
normal
teenager,
kid,
finish
yeah.
your school, like do what you're supposed to do, like just try to get me on the right track again.
That's so crazy. I'm sure many of us have, well, the bad boys have similar stories, but is it for you the same way where when it happened back in the day, it would be like the worst getting caught and doing this, it would be like so stressful and so weird, but now thinking back, you can laugh about it and be like, ah, that was a good time, or
That's exactly what I feel like right now.
yeah.
Like you don't even there's so much more to these stories. It is crazy. And then like when you get caught back there and you're like fuck, like you're like goddamn 14 years old and you just did this thing and then you see your dad calling you on your
Oh
phone at
yeah.
9 a.m.
Oh
When
yeah.
obviously he wouldn't call you if he believes you're in school, right?
Yeah.
Or like you get a message and they're saying like you need to contact us or they're gonna like contact the police and you're like holy shit, what have I done?
Yeah. And in your head, you're thinking of all the possible excuses that you can make up to get out of this shit.
Yeah, but you already know you're way past that point.
Yeah.
So, but like now I'm at the point where I can just laugh about it. It's the same with my parents.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
In
when you know you
fact,
kind of grew up, right?
yeah, in fact they're like my biggest fans. So things turned out right, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that your mom is pretty knowledgeable about dotes.
Yeah, I could actually talk to her about our drafts, and she would most of the time actually tell me things that. So let's say we lose a game, and then I talk to my team about, yeah, so this draft, what do we think? And then we come to a conclusion. And then after, I'd go to my mom and be like, so, hey, what do you think? Most of the times, she can at least mention a couple things that we would have also said in the talk, which is pretty funny and impressive at the same time.
Awesome. And she watches your games or what?
Pretty much every game. Like, from what I understand now, is that even though my brother had work, he was awake until 4 a.m. when we played those finals.
Hmm.
The same with my girlfriend, she had school. And my mom and my dad were also awake, so they are pretty crazy when it comes
That's
to my game.
insane. So your family is sitting at home watching Twitch at 4 o'clock a.m.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, I laid in bed as well, and now I had Twitch open. That was it was good times. It was a great tournament, great games as well, man. So thanks a lot for that. That was awesome. Um,
that's good.
okay, so we went through skipping school times, getting in trouble, stuff like that. Okay. Um, last two to three things. Let's maybe just quickly go over kind of your perspective of your teammates. I like to do that a bunch. So
Okay.
let's maybe begin with Yapsor. So as I understand, he's a good friend of yours.
hmm
Is there anything more to add about him? Clowny, but a bit serious in game.
Um, I would say that he's a very honest person. I think if you asked him on something, like let's say you were going to a person you want an honest answer, you should go to him.
Hmm.
And he has a lot of good things about him. Like I think he's very smart in general, and I respect him. And the good thing, as you said, he can be clowny, but he knows most of the time like when it's time to be serious too.
That takes a bit of certain type of intelligence too, right? To know
It
when
does.
you can be clowny and when not, right?
Yeah, it does indeed.
All right. Yeah. Sounds like a very, very, very cool guy. Shout out to Yapsor. Mid one.
Right, I think the two I will have the hardest time talking about is him and MP.
Mm-hmm.
They're maybe a bit different to us, seeing as they're from like another culture.
Yeah.
Mid one is I mean, if I'd have to talk to him as a player or like talk about his player skills or whatever, I think that he is probably one of the best three mid laners in the game.
Hmm.
If he has a good day, then he's definitely the best mid laner that I can think of and
Hmm.
that I would want to play with. He's one of his strengths is that he can just pretty much lead your team to victory. If you help him get to a certain point, like you just make him feel good and you make him feel like that he can do that, he will.
Hmm.
And in terms of person, he is pretty damn serious, and I think he thinks a lot, even if he won't always express it, even though he's a very talkative person. I Something gives me the feeling that he thinks even more than he leads you to believe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I get you because this is something that the feeling I got when I watched him talk as well is that I thought, man, he seems, he talks in a certain way and stuff, but he seems super, like deep down, he's obviously super passionate about the game. He thinks a lot about the game. And so is it fair to say that it's a bit unusual or unused for you to that you would like him to be a bit more out there with his thoughts and so on, the communication, or is it just something that you need to get used to or needed to get used to?
It's not necessarily something he has to change or anything, because I think he is very good as a player, and he talks a lot about his ideas.
Hmm.
But I'm just saying, even though he does it so much, I can feel that there's so much more going on
Hmm.
in his head that he's thinking about, whether it's Dota related or not. He's just, if anyone will talk to him, they might realize or they might see what I'm saying.
Okay, understood. Gotcha. And MP is he the like really quiet guy that as he comes across?
He's the mysterious player in our team.
Ah, the mysterious anime character that carries the team.
Yeah, he's by far the coolest. Like if you just look at him, you're like, holy shit, I'm in a movie right now,
What a
or
cool
something like
guy,
that.
right? I thought,
Yeah,
yeah, he is a,
exactly.
yeah, he looks like a really cool dude.
It's
Uh,
also like that, like he does talk, especially when he feels good also. But you can tell when he talks, he's very smart. He knows his things. Like, for example, a vibe I would get is that when he talks, I will, um, even though maybe it shouldn't be like that, but just because he doesn't speak maybe as much as I do or Yapsor, instantly when he would say something, I would like respect it really highly
hmm.
because he doesn't maybe speak as much as we do, which means if he says something, he feels very strongly about it
Hmm.
to end up saying it. So that's just pretty funny. And another really nice thing is that with all this time I've been in this team, I can feel that like it's getting like so nice and so natural and so easy for all of us to talk to each other, especially with MP, because he used to be very quiet and now it's just getting better and better. And it just feels so natural and normal to be like cracking jokes with him now or just have like conversations for like hours actually. When in the start it felt like, you ask him something and he'd be like, yeah, no, or whatever, like these 1, 2 word answers.
Yeah.
And now it just feels like so natural. It feels like you're like growing up with other people at the same time.
Hmm. Awesome. Uh, what about Puppy? How did you think it was going to be to play with him, and how is it now to play with him?
I mean, I was really looking forward to play with him because probably one of the players in Dota that you can respect the most, apart from a few others,
Very
perhaps.
few, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
like very few. Everyone knows that there's a reason that he's won so many things and that he's been a captain of all these winning teams and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I know there was drama around him pretty much a week or a few weeks before I joined that team in the first place.
Oh, that's
So I
interesting.
so I had a talk to him about it because not that it truly concerned me. I asked him some key questions and he answered me because he told me after he asked me, and if there's anything about the drama that like is like not helping your judgment of what you should be doing, then just ask me. He'll answer me. So we had a pretty long talk and we talked through it, and I totally believed him in everything he told me. So first of all, I felt really good about joining, and at this point in time, I feel really good that I joined back then because I think Puppy is the best captain that I've ever played under. I think he does his job really damn well as a captain. He is also, I would like to say, he's nothing like the community has portrayed him in the last long while. Even if there is some truth in the Envy blog, not that I know every detail, but I'll
Mm,
say that most likely there is some truth to it. But I'm very certain that there is a lot of things taken out of proportion as well.
mm.
So it's just a bit sad sometimes that a player who's played for so long and was respected that much just suddenly gets like that much of a shitstorm thrown at him.
So you're telling me that in your entire time of you playing in Team Secret, Puppy has not yet told you to fight him?
We have never had a fight. We just meme about it. He
Aha.
has yet to throw anything at anyone, and I certainly think he's one of the best and nicest teammates and captains that I have ever played with.
But you got like apart from like the envy thing where obviously no one except the parties involved and other people know a lot about. I certainly don't.
Yeah,
When it comes to like the headset monitor thing, honestly, guys, come on, Dota people, every single one of us has gotten so pissed off at some point that they would have done at least that or more. Puppy just had, he just did it. So I guess
yeah, it
it
was
ha
caught on
like
camera. Feels
yeah,
bad.
exactly. That's it. It fucking happens, and it's great. It makes for great content at the summit. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But in regards to this drama situation, I did want to ask, since especially I think the summit and all the memeing I think has maybe straightened out the situation a bit. I don't have the feeling it's as serious anymore, especially after seeing them in videos together and so on. So what I do want to ask, in the hopes of getting an answer, but also being prepared that I may not, is if there's one or two or a few things that you wished that people out there knew about the situation, following the Envy blog and so on, what would those? Is there any things, and which ones would they be, or which ones could you tell us?
There's literally just one word I would like to say, but out of private reasons and whatnot, I really can't. I don't think there's much I can add to this topic. It's literally something very little that would make a lot more people understand what it really was or why and whatnot. Like just shed some more light on the topic. Maybe one day it will happen from someone else, but I don't think it's the right moment in time right now.
So,
So sadly, I cannot give you a clear answer.
not even the one word.
No, I can't.
Is it women?
No.
Is it drugs?
Nice try, man.
Fuck. Okay. Well, so sorry guys. I tried. Oh well, but I can understand, and I'm sure maybe one day we'll know. Um, but I did ask. So
You did.
other
You
thing,
tried.
I tried. The last one before we go into the standard last questions is, Misery mentioned in an interview that while he was on Secret, and maybe you saw this, he mentioned that he was scared to get kicked off a team. And I think this was on, I do want to credit, I think it was Defense of the Patients podcast.
He
That
was talking about Team Secret, right?
Yeah, he was on Team Secret, and he
Hmm.
was during this time. They were pretty successful, and maybe they had a little bit of slump, but he was scared to get kicked, and Weeha as well. Thoughts on this? Because you just mentioned, how good you guys are feeling.
Um, I can say that this is also something I wrote in my blog not too long ago, like
Hmm.
a couple months ago. I can pretty much relate to what he just said. We weren't successful back then, not really. Like we're more successful now, but pretty much I had the feeling that I wasn't really pulling my own weight. Like I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do, seeing as I play with these players, so obviously there should be something good about me. There should be something good I'm bringing to them. But at that point in time, like a few months ago, I felt like I didn't. Now I feel quite a lot better about it. So like I'm not quite sure if he was scared because he didn't play well, or in general, like if that's just a vibe he got. But I know that at that point in time, like not too long ago, I could really relate to what he's saying. But it had a lot to do with my own feelings, like how I felt as a player. I didn't feel right for at least a month or two on this team until I realized, okay, I'm improving and let's not overthink let's not overthink these things and just try to get better slowly. And I think that's and I think it's working out for me. Not that
Mm-hmm.
I'm a universe right now, but I know I'm slowly getting better, so that just makes me feel good and more confident about myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that's fair. Um, and is did you just throw out universe for as an example, or would you, if you had to choose like one kind of offlane player in the scene that you look up to the most, is it universe or who would that be?
It has been universe pretty much from when I started Dota, but right now I would actually say it's someone else. I've watched a lot of different offlaners play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much replays other offlaners watch, but I've I'm sure I'm top five most like replay watcher from a pro player.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many different offlaners, and I think the one that stands out the most to me is actually Ice Ice Ice.
Mm.
Um, sure, there are two different types of players. Like for example, Universe. If you want a guy who will always do his job and sometimes like even more, and just be your consistent foot in the team, you will want him.
Yeah.
But Ice Ice Ice, from watching so many of his replays, I see so many impressive things he does, whether it's big or small. And obviously, sometimes it doesn't work out. But he is the one that impresses me the most. Like, if you can find someone who plays like Ice 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 with the consistency of Universe, you would have by far the best offlane player ever.
Mm-hmm. So in my mind, the way you describe it, it seems like on the whole, like risk reward scale, Ice is a lot more risky, but if it works out, he has more impact than Universe, and Universe is just consistently good.
That is correct. And another thing to add to Ice Ice Ice, I think he is the. I'm not sure if this is true, but if you made a what's it called, a poll or whatever, like if you asked all the pro carry players who they hate laning against the most, I would say with quite a lot of confidence that most of them would say Ice Ice Ice, at
Hmm.
least if they've had the opportunity to play slash lane against him.
Interesting. Have you had the pleasure yet?
Not, I don't think so, because we're both offlane players, so one of us would have to go into the safe lane, and I'm not even sure if we've ever played Faceless.
Maybe one
So I,
day, if you do play Faceless and you're about to do lane rotations and your off lanes do meet, maybe your eyes will lock and you will say, "All right, we'll just stay like this," and you'll fight it out.
that'll be some good shit. I would like that.
Okay. Cool. All right. Hey, man, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. We're above the hour and 10 minutes. To everyone listening, thanks for sticking around until here. Um, I do want to go into my kind of last question, but
Hmm.
about the summit and the puppy drama and like your kind of history and stuff. Is there anything that you still want to mention or get out there?
Are we? Is this like shout outs or whatever, or is this like related to the topics we just mentioned?
Just related to the topics. Maybe something that I didn't touch on that you want to get out there.
Um, no, I think I said most of the things that I did want to say.
Okay. So I like to ask people about potential PSAs or public service announcements because you as pro players, you obviously play a lot of pubs and you have like a special perspective on the whole thing. And is
Hmm.
there something when you play publics that people do maybe over and over or that you see often that just really pisses you off that you think is really wrong that you want to mention here?
I think the number one things people do wrong, whether it's low or high MMR, that at least makes a lot of people crazy, I think it's just attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude and throwing games early. Like I've been at that point. Like I was a pro player in Han for a long time. So at some point, because I think at some point you forget, like maybe I played high pubs in Han and I played with people who weren't as knowledgeable as one of the pro players, and then you see them do a mistake and you're like, well, how the fuck can you be this bad? So then I switched over to Dota, and now I'm on the receiving end. Like I'm the guy that's learning again,
Mm-hmm.
and I have played with some people who were pros, and I'm like, wow, this is hurtful. Like what they're telling me, like holy shit, they're telling me like, oh, you'll never make it, you're the worst player ever, like shit like that, and I'm like, wow, like holy damn. And like that gave me a new perspective on other things too. Not that I'm a big flamer, but at that point I realized like there must be so many players back in the day that I may have like hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
Not that I told them that they're shit, but I'm like, how can you do this? Like, because sometimes obviously you get mad, you get upset, whatever. It's like I think people need to understand that at the end we're just playing a game. Like if you play a bad pub game and you think you leave your computer for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, and you come back, I don't think you really care about your last pub game so much anymore. But if you're in that game and you constantly talk about it, like you're just making bad vibes for yourself and then for your teammates, and overall, like you're not even gonna improve if the only thing you're gonna stick to is flaming this guy who's maybe not having the best game. It's just bad. I think people just focus on yourselves. Like even if you're having a shit game or someone is ruining, you can still play to get better at the hero you're playing, or try some moves, make some weird smoke gangs. Just try something. At least make use of your time instead of just throwing it away.
Ah, that's interesting. I like that. Yeah, it's true. One thing I noticed is how little impact the early game has on the outcome of a pub, but how many people GG out and start playing Clowny after, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous. Like it's very easy to come back in
Yeah,
this Dota game. It used to be even easier, and even then there were people who like destroy their items, drop their items, abandon. Like it's just pretty stupid. I can understand it in like some games. There's very few games where I can be like, all right, I'm actually not mad at this guy for leaving or abandoning.
yeah.
But in most, like 9 out of 10 times when people do it right now, it's not okay at all. It's like so bad actually.
Yeah, or like when people make mistakes, I think I recently had this thought where it feels like when people flame and get pissed off when people make mistakes, it seems like the people that get pissed off, or maybe even myself when I get pissed off, it has the vibe of I'm taking it personal. The thing that the person did, I'm taking it personally that they are not performing, but it can have a billion reasons why they made this mistake, like maybe
Yeah, like
internet or
we're
whatever.
all humans at the
Yeah,
end also. Like there might be emotions or computer, whatever.
yeah.
And I know for myself, even though I've like it doesn't happen to me that much, but if I pay too much attention to other people or their mistakes, it makes me play worse,
Yeah,
way worse,
yeah.
and it makes me a lot less focused. So I just try to avoid it because at the end of the day, like I'm playing for myself. Maybe I'm playing to win, or most of the time I'm playing to get better. And if I look at other people too much, then I just lose track, and it's not good at all.
Yeah, I think this may be one of the very, very helpful PSAs here. So I hope that people out there take it to heart. I'll certainly try. All I think everyone is gonna have a day of where they also just start flaming or be pissed off. But minimizing it, I think, is a good goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. So what's next for you now? How are your next few days looking?
My next, pretty much tomorrow, the plan is right now to go to the next closest big town and have a relaxing day with my girlfriend and maybe do some shopping.
Uh-huh.
And then the day after, aka in 2 days, we're gonna be flying to our boot camp to get ready for the TI qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that will end up well, so we can finally take I would hope to say a very well-deserved break for at least a week or 10 days, because 2 days after the TI qualifiers are over, we're gonna be flying to America
Mm-hmm.
for the Dream League finals, which are in Atlanta. And hopefully then we can stay in America because by that time we have qualified for TI. That will be the perfect case scenario.
Awesome. Well, we'll all certainly be watching. KheZu, you mentioned in your video that you're looking for an adventure. You're looking for something new. Is it official? Did you make it?
I definitely think so. Yeah,
Yeah?
I definitely made the right choice,
You
and I'm
happy?
I'm glad I did. I am very happy.
And you're
Like
going to be
with what
able
I'm doing, I think it's just great. Like I'm really enjoying my time.
and you're going to be able to take out the queen tomorrow and have her buy whatever the hell she wants.
We'll see about that.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll do
it's
something good, that's for
we
sure.
are Germans after all, right? You shouldn't
Yeah,
go too crazy on the spending.
yeah.
All right, Kezu, man, thanks so much. I really appreciate the time. Do you have any last shout outs, people you want to thank before you peace out?
I think the only things I have to say is obviously shout out to my team and my manager, which is Cyborg Matt, who was like I used to always think like, what do managers really do? Like, how important are they really? If they just schedule your scrims and whatever, like I can do that. But after being with like manager of, I don't know, let's call it high class, or
Mm.
someone who knows what he's doing, it's actually so damn helpful. You don't have to worry about any of your problems, whether it's about tournaments, your travel, or in general question. So I think he deserves like a really big shout out. Um, Apart from that, I would just like to give a shout out to my family that always support me, like my brother, my dad, my mom. Then there's my girlfriend. They all like watch my games, and they all just give me the warmest of welcomes when I come back home. And apart from that, I just want to thank all the people that support me and my team. We all really appreciate you guys, and I would like to say that it makes us all very, very happy when we see people that really believe in us and cheer for us.
Awesome, amazing. All right, guys, I'll put in the social media of KheZu into the description of the video. Tweet at me to let me know who you want to have on next or any question I should throw after KheZu posts this interview. Again, big shout out to Cyborg Matt in a class of his own among managers. Shout out to you, good sir. And again, thanks KheZu for coming on. Peace out, guys.